Alright, so let's take a look at some stuff. Got a bunch of pistons and a few different jugs here. Got a jug that's actually split so I can measure all the profiles. See that transfer port? That's the intake. You can see the angle, see the thickness of the wall. And I always wax mold every port job that I do. That's how I measure them. Over here I got a piston that I actually cut in half so I can measure that profile, know exactly what I have here. Wrote some software on my computer, takes all this data, gives me good numbers to work to. You can see I got one 48cc piston here. It's out of a GT2B, pretty scuffed up, about 4,000 miles on that one. Some PK pistons. These four here are PK pistons. Two Groovy GT5 angle fire pistons. You can see the angle fire pistons are a little shorter, and the piston pin is offset a lot lower. That's because the connecting rod of the GT5 is much longer. Here I have a piston with a big window in it. It's on the intake side. You can tell that by the location of the pins in the back side of the cylinder. It's always the intake side there. That window is designed to work with my reed valve. It also lightens the piston up, which is going to help out with the load we get on the crankshaft at high RPMs. Plus, provide more lubrication to the little end. Small cylinder here on the very left, that's a GT2B 48cc Groovy cylinder. This is a PK80. I ported this one. It's mildly ported, as you can see, smooth as glass, shines like a diamond. There's the exhaust port. Pretty wide, but not overly. Now if we take a look at this one here, this is for my latest build. Now look at the difference in them exhaust ports. Look how wide that exhaust port is. Did a very radical port job to this cylinder. Like you can see that exhaust port has some serious shape to it. Comes back almost to the transfer. Intake's been ported. This one hasn't been polished yet. Still deciding if I'm done cutting or not. I even cut out the webbing in the bottom. Blended it nicely into the cylinder. This is the jug for my latest build. Just going to get the reed valve and the windowed piston. This is a standard Groovy GT5 AF cylinder. Upon first look, the porting's a little wider than average. Looks pretty nice. You take a look at the transfer, you can see it's got a real steep angle going up, which is actually the weakness of this cylinder because it increases the transfer duration too much and robs you of power. Another PK jug, good example of what happens when you're not careful enough. Got the intake sealing surface here quite thin. Might be able to fix it, but it's what happens if you don't cut it just right. Didn't do anything to the exhaust port yet. This is a PK80 cylinder. Poured it out. It just needs polish. This is going on Taco's motor over here. Intake's ported. Looks pretty good. Just needs polished up. Decent exhaust port there. Nice shape to it. But boy, this one. Look at the difference. Look at that exhaust port. Look at them transfers. Transfers are smooth, blended. The web's been thinned out, cut back in there. Look at the blending I did into the cylinder. It's perfect. This thing is mint. One more time, the nice windowed piston. Look at that window. Imagine how much weight that takes off that piston. Blended nice. The transfers should create a lot more flow through the piston, adding more lubrication to the little bearing, and also keeping the dome much cooler. One other thing to note here, you can see this piston has a flat top. That's real bad for compression. PK pistons have a nice dome to them. With Jim's billet head and the proper squish, you get some real compression. Done a whole lot of research here. Done a whole lot of math. Done a whole lot of testing on my bike that's completely stripped down. Getting ready for the new motor. I hope it can handle it. That's it for porting.